If you think too much, this video is for you. If you're anything like me, you grew up playing with players who didn't think at all. It seemed like they just showed up to the field, they saw the ball, they hit the ball, and they played really well. If you're one of those players, awesome, good for you. Keep it up. This video is not for you. But if you're somebody like me who thinks too much and is always up here in their head, this video is for you. So here's my theory, my philosophy. If you are a player who overthinks things, then you naturally will be a worse player, less consistent of a player than someone who doesn't think at all. However, if you can dial in your mental game, you have a higher ceiling than someone who doesn't think at all on the field. And this is something I experienced in my career. The years where I overthought things and got in my head, I played way below what I was capable of. But in the following years of my career, I ended up playing to a much higher level than I even thought I was capable of. And that was all because I was able to dial in my mental game, and it made me be able to out-strategize, outthink my opponent, and rely entirely on my athleticism. So if you're someone who gets in your head too much, listen to this. Here's the first thing to understand. You can't shut off your brain. If you're someone who overthinks too much, you're never gonna stop thinking. So you can't just shut off your brain. And if you try to do that, it's just not gonna work. So instead, you have to occupy your brain with something else. And that something else is very important because you can try to occupy your brain with something non-related to baseball, but then you'll be distracted, you're not gonna be in the moment. You can try to occupy your brain with some positive things and try to reinforce like, okay, I'm gonna do so good in this next at bat, but that's probably not gonna help you either. So what I recommend you do is what you occupy your brain with is an approach. And I mentioned this before, and you guys have probably heard of what a mental approach is at the plate. But what an approach is we take into account all of our previous at-bats and all of our previous swing adjustments, and then we just boil all of that down to one simple phrase. And that simple phrase is what we're gonna take up with us to the plate. So let's say in the previous at-bat, I rolled over, okay? Then in the next at-bat, my approach is taking into account my previous at-bat, and now I'm thinking, I boil all of that down to hit the inner half of the ball. So that's all I'm thinking now in my next at-bat. I have a ton of different adjustments I could potentially make. I could be thinking, okay, get a little bit more posture with my upper body. I could be thinking all these mechanical adjustments. But if you're someone who thinks too much, you can't be thinking any of that in the game. It's just gonna serve as a distraction, and it's gonna take away from your athleticism. So what I recommend you do is you take this small adjustment phrase, like hit the inner half of the ball or do damage or something like that, and roll with that for your at-bat. And that's just the phrase that you're repeating in your head over and over again on loop. Now, pitch to pitch, you're gonna be adjusting. Maybe sometimes you'll sit fastball and curveball, and those are more advanced things that you just learn over time in your playing career. However, if you have a simple, short, repeatable phrase like this that you can bring up with yourself to the plate, it'll occupy your brain throughout the entirety of the at-bat, and it'll help you rely on your athleticism. The second thing I recommend is take lots of video and review the video. Again, you cannot just shut off your brain, but if you review video all the time, you can at least see what you're doing wrong, and then more importantly, take video of what you're doing right. Now, so many people will use video and review all of their bad swings and be like, okay, I'm doing this wrong, I'm doing that wrong, I'm doing that wrong. But when you go into the game, you don't want to be reviewing your bad swings. Don't watch a bad swing on a game day. Watch your good swings, watch your best swings, watch your home runs, watch your batting practice bombs. That's the kind of swing that you need to watch when it's game day. Get that locked and loaded in your subconscious and play it on replay. By doing this, it'll positively reinforce the movement patterns that you want to enforce when it's game day. And this will help us use our brain in a positive manner. It's so easy to get in your head, and trust me, I know as well as anybody else how easy that is to happen, especially in a game like baseball where you fail so much. But I can guarantee if you try these two tips, it's going to make a world of a difference with your mental game, and you will potentially even surpass that kid on your team who doesn't think at all and just steps up to the plate and hits bombs every time. As always, I'm Coach RAC with Headbanger Sports, and we'll see you guys next week.